If you remember, the program we created is an executable program. Now in this slide and in video, we're just going to talk about two things: the selection screen and internal tables. Internal tables, both are very important actually. And actually, if you're wondering what the code is, in the previous slide, you can just double click, Control A, that's the code. You can paste the code into your editor. Alright, so let's open the transaction IC38 again. Here we go. This is great, right? All the types are defined, a lot of things you can directly navigate. I'll teach you all these things, okay? Let's trade. These are the data declarations. We'll come there. First, let's straight go to the selection screen. Okay, when you press F8, so you have pchar ID, scon ID, and sdate, three things, right? When you press F8, you'll see this one to be just one value. You can enter this one value, pchar ID and scon ID. They're pretty similar. Sdate, on the other hand, is very versatile. You can do a select single value, so you can pick a date, or you can actually select a range, lower limit and the upper limit. Of course, the upper limit has to be greater than the lower limit. Or you can actually exclude some values, or you can exclude some ranges. It's extremely powerful. So this is crazy. Let me remove this guy. You can remove it by pressing here. See, the range has come now. So let's look at the code behind it, how I did this. Here, sdate is a select option, pcareer ID is a parameter. So select option gives you a range, low, high, include, exclude. Parameters give you just single value. The middle one, scon ID, is a peculiar case. It's actually very powerful. This is a select option, but what I said is we added these two conditions: no extension and no intervals. That means this to this is an interval, right? And the fact that you can extend by putting multiple single values at extension. So disable this and the range. When you do this, it becomes just like this guy, just one value. So my preference is to use this extensively, because a lot of the times the client will come back to you and say, hey, right now I'm putting one value, but I would like to put a range. Then you have to change a bunch of stuff down there. If you change select options, parameter to select options, you'll do a lot of code change. If you keep it this way, it looks like a parameter. You just delete this part and it becomes a range. Like they become identical. Con ID and date become identical. So we'll explain the debugger. In a debugger, we'll show you how this thing looks like in the memory. As we all know, debugger shows us the memory status. When you go to debugger, everything will be more clear. There's one more thing. Right now, this thing appears as whatever you define, the variable name, right? It looks very ugly. So you actually go to Alt G T selection text. So you can put anything you want, and it'll appear there. It's okay now. For now, it's okay. I'm going to do this. Okay, so now we're going to define internal tables. Very important. So these are the two cases we are typically going to use. These are the obsolete ways. Again, we have to show you in the debugger to give you the difference between these two cases. Okay, now here it's a table, internal table is a table. That's why it has T. That's a naming convention I always follow. This is something SAP recommends. G is global. It means it's not inside any subroutine or function module. It is accessible from anywhere in the code. I hope you know about global variables, local variables, static variables. If not, I'll tell you. So global variables are visible. You can use this variable. You can use the data inside from anywhere in the code. And then this is a table. So T, type standard table of S-flight. Now what is the S-flight? What is this S-flight, right? Double click on it. It is a table. It's the same table that we initially checked if there is data or not. What are we doing with this? Okay, let's go back, head back. We're saying that let's create a structure in the memory which has the same fields as this table. This structure in memory in your program actually mimics this table, has the exact same number of fields. This table has how many? Probably 20 fields. This internal table also has 20 fields. It's a standard table. You'll have sorted tables and you have hash tables. We'll talk about it later. Sorting and hashing is computer science data structure classes and algorithms. You probably know about them if you're a computer science student. Otherwise, we'll talk about it. And this is global. S is structure. Table is like a two-dimensional array. Structure is one row of the table. Again, going to the Excel sheet. To store all this data, you'll need a two-dimensional array, right? But to store only one row, one single row of the data, all you need is a one-dimensional array or a structure. The better word will be structure. You stack multiple structures on top of each other. It becomes a two-dimensional array or an internal table. As simple as that. So this is a one-dimensional structure. This is a two-dimensional structure. We'll see it in the debugger very clearly. I know I'm talking about a debugger, and you might be excited to see it. I'm excited too. Now, in this case, what we used is this S-flight thing is not defined in this program. It is defined in the data dictionary. That means this always stays. Variables only exist when you run the program in the memory, in the RAM, and then when the program exits, the variables die. In here, the data dictionary objects, the S-flight, is in the database. It's like in the hard disk. It's permanent. Now, so we use the permanent structure in the data dictionary to define an internal table, which is a variable which resides in the memory and it dies when the program exits. Now we take another approach. Instead of using a data dictionary object, we're going to define one right here. A typical use case would be this table has so many fields, so many. We don't need them all. We need only 3 of them. So we define the type, and this type again is only this program specific. Outside the program, you cannot find this. So we define a type, begin, end, and inside is a char ID is type. These types we directly found here actually. The field name, we gave the same name. You don't have to give the same name. And data element is the type. When we talk about data dictionary in detail, we'll tell you what data element is. This data element is nothing but character or blank 3. This data element is nothing but a date, and date length is always 8. So these are the basic types. This is data elements. We'll talk about it in data dictionary. So it's got, this structure has got 3 elements, and now we do exact same way we defined here. We define it here, but instead of using something from the data dictionary, using whatever we just described. And again, this is a global structure, and this is a one-dimensional object. The old way, obsolete, don't do it anymore. What it used to do is to say occurs 0. Instead of this statement, they used to write this way. We'll show you in the debugger again what's the difference. Again, instead of defining a type and then using the type to define your internal table, people used to use data begin of and occurs 0, data. As you can see, only difference is instead of types you're using data and occurs 0. So in one statement, instead of defining types and then data, in one block of code it defined the internal table. Also, you should not use this. I have put this just so that, because you'll be modifying old code as well, you'll be seeing this, so that you don't freak out. What is this? I think this is, now we'll go to debugger finally.